we started in the Umberlands, and you tried to. Well, you got 2 drawers full of punch cards for Johnny 7, and so Johnny produced his last hurrah, which was a production of strangely shaped designer chairs. And then you decide.
I'll be right back. My iPad's about to die, so I'm just going to swap computers.
Okay, cool. And so then you ask Johnny 7 whether or not he wants to live or to die. And he was a bit cryptic about it. I think the hard coding forbid him to say that he wanted to die. And so you found a way to store the information on the crystal snail of Satrap 88, which was part of the caravan. But when Johnny 7's personality was on the crystal snail, the whole machine started to decompose, and everybody fled, and then the what's it called, like the immune system of Johnny 7 kicked in. The black metal spiders poured out of many holes and killed Saffron. But in the process of transferring the information from Johnny 7 to the crystal snail, all the information passed through Saffron. So the hope is that at least a big part of their personality is also in the snail. And I think last time, I'm not sure how we ended the session concerning the knowledge of the player characters. Do you made a plan that is for Nida and for Brother Methuselah?
We were traveling on to the Behemoth Shell. We reached it and stopped for the day there.
I believe we were going to try to acquire some new vehicles while we were at the Behemoth Shell.
Yeah, that was after the prairie dogs stole our saffron.
Yes. And Brother Methuselah summoned vengeful ghosts
to kill them.
Them.
I don't recall whether the ghosts were able to retrieve their fancy hats, but the saffron was.
Yeah, Brother Methuselah, what do you think? Do you now have a collection of fancy hats?
Yeah, of small hats, somewhere in the caravan.
Yeah,
maybe we can sell them if we ever find a child along the road.
Yeah, slightly too small for you. I mean, for comedic effect, you can still wear them, I guess. But my question was more like, does the group know that there's a way for saffron to be restored? Or is that...
I think at this point, we might have that hope that maybe some of Saffron got dragged in, but we don't know because, well, Saffron was kind of our tech person.
I think Brother Methuselah had some
he saw like the
inkling around because of my ghost being around.
Yeah, I think Brother Methuselah is aware, but out of fear from the Ultra Hunter, he is keeping it under wraps for now.
And then I think everybody has seen that the kite, during the funeral, the kite was moving in a jerky way into the direction of the crystal snail. So that's another indication for, even if you're not, technically skilled, you could get a hunch that there's something.
The tail was poking at it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so and we haven't rolled an encounter yet. So I imagine that you're maybe like a day or so. You have seen the Behemoth shells in the distance, and you're maybe a day away from them. When we do roll for an encounter, if you're all okay with that. But before we do that, let's see where everybody is, and to introduce the characters, including the new character. So let's start with Nida. So you are there's the wagon, solid wagon drawn by two ponies or two mules, ponies. There's the porcelain walker, and that's it, I guess. Where would you be?
I think since we see the shell, I'm walking and sketching and just doing my normal travelogue thing. You know, I'm just documenting the trail, mapping it out, trying to draw as accurate a version of it as I can for the maps, and looking for anything interesting.
And I remember that Nida, like in the first ever session, and probably ever since, she always made like you had the impression that she was very aware of her surrounding, but not in a, I enjoy the scenery way, but more in a, there could be a
There could be
sniper.
danger way.
Yes, everywhere. Has that changed?
No. No, she can both appreciate the beauty of the surroundings and also say that rock is an excellent hiding spot. That's where I would set up if I were trying to snipe someone on the trail.
And she obviously has the plasma sniper rifle over her shoulder. Is the hood, is it up? Or
it's up?
It's up. All right, and Nida is a yellow lender and part of the Legion of the Far Side, which is an organization who, how would you describe the Legion?
Community protection, community watch, community outreach, more or less literally, but not in the way that most people would think. Because the Legion of the Farsight reaches out to remove threats at a distance. And its members, its individual members, are called scopes. They extend the vision of the Farsight. And they're all equipped with plasma sniper rifles and are told if they see a threat that needs to be removed, they are to remove it. And periodically, the Legion will put out alerts for threats that need to be removed. And if scopes find those threats, they are expected to act in whatever way they can to reduce or eliminate those threats.
Cool. And then where would Ajax be? And can you
Ajax
describe
is
him?
lazy. Ajax is, I would not be surprised if, depending on the time of day and how hot it is, Ajax is either riding on top of the cart, laying on a sack of something, or riding under the cart to lie in the shade.
Definitely in the shade. It's hot as hell.
Yeah. Then he's probably riding underneath the cart. Probably in the same spot where he stashed the saffron when we stole it last time.
Yeah. And so Ajax is an exiled cat lord.
Yes.
Most people would say it's a cat, but it's an unusual cat. How does he look like?
He's black, and he has a tail kind of like an ankylosaurus. There are spikes on it, and those spikes have venom. And that venom will knock you out.
Is he black? I always imagined he was like pink or something. Weren't they like pink stripes? Or am I?
You know, that's a very good question. Let me see. Well, going back to session 1, the notes we have is that Nida is always suspicious and is followed by a cat who provides ongoing commentary. So there's nothing in the notes from then about it. I wonder if there's anything. there it is. Ajax, exiled cat lord, black cat.
Black cat. Cool.
Sheet.
Awesome. All right, and then where would Azure be? Oh, and how does Azure look like?
Azure is is like a tall is a
Oh, I don't know. Abe does have some problem. Oh, he is.
sorry.
No worries.
Azure is is like a tall, slim woman. She wears very kind of retro futuristic outfit. She wears sort of like this vinyl blue mini skirt, and like sort of she's got that form fitting armor. That's black, and then she wears this like sort of helmet that's got a giant, basically a giant clear teardrop kind of shaped face mask, and around her neck she has a scarf that's has like sort of that ends in sort of a circle handle, and that her thing is she basically just holds on to it all the time. But now that she has adopted Saffron's kite, she no longer hangs on to her scarf, and she just hangs on to the kite all the time. That's her. It's her new thing to cope with that survivor's guilt that she's got from kind of bailing on the whole Johnny Seven collapse.
Mm-hmm. And so you are a cultist, I guess.
Yeah, I'm in the Azure. I'm secretly in the Azure cult, or is it the Azure cult?
Mm-hmm. It is.
I believe so. I can't find the character sheet. So, yeah. So, and her big mission is that she's collecting vial parts, and so she can, when she gets to the Black City, she can return, can return the world to its native form, which is complete destruction. She's going to return it all to the void because everything sucks now.
Mm-hmm. And where would Azure be? On the wagon or on the walker?
I'm probably just walking. She's kind of become withdrawn since Saffron went down, and just not particularly, animated and engaging with people right now. She's sort of in mourning.
Mm-hmm. And so you're not walking next to Nida, but maybe in front of the caravan, or even further behind Nida.
Yeah, I mean, within an earshot of Nida, but I'm not really like, just kind of keeping to myself.
Yeah, and imagine from afar, people would see the walker, and maybe on the same height, the furry chitinous kite of Azure. And then we also have Brother Methuselah.
Yeah. Brother Methuselah is a robed man whose boots are a little bit tighter than they were, last week. He is sitting on the walker, I think, probably. He's occupying the space that was once occupied by a bag of saffron.
Mm-hmm.
As, the walker sort of lumbers forward towards the Behemoth Shell. He is in a sort of like traditional Western monk's vestments. He has a robe, and he has, like a bag slung across him full of accounting gear, and with a little abacus thinking machine in that bag. He is observing the landscape. I think that he is just sort of thinking as he looks out. He keeps sort of glancing towards where Azure has the kite,
Mhm.
with him. And his eyes just sort of keep wandering over there as he takes in the fact that there is another spirit in the party that is stuck in a body that they cannot manipulate.
Mhm. Um, yeah, I think that's about it about Brother Methuselah. I mean, you are an accountant monk, and there must be like you should maybe mention that you are a ghost.
Yes, Brother Methuselah is himself an ultra, which is a ghost essentially, who is currently inhabiting a human body in order to carry him forward towards the Black City.
And so I probably asked that before and forgot, but the other monks, is the order an order of ultras, or is it like an order of humans, and you happen to be an ultra, that you happen to have possessed the body of a monk?
Well, I think it is an order of ultras
Cool.
under the table.
Mhm.
Is these ancient creatures with extensive mathematical knowledge,
Mhm.
all changing bodies when the bodies fail them as new initiates to the order.
Yeah, makes sense. It also makes sense that that they have this superior computational power because of the knowledge of the eons.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we have a new character who has been part of the caravan all the time, but always in the background. But now um, he steps forward, and it is, let's see. Yeah, can you, Chris, introduce the new character?
Yeah, I'm now playing Ver Wilkes, who is a strong rancher, noble runaway. He's been with the caravan, helping with the wagon, helping with the animals. He's along for the ride to try to find rumors, details, clues about ancient Ling princesses, because he's carrying around a family heirloom pearl that he wants to give back to the Ling princess.
Mm-hmm. How do we know that he's a quarterling? Like, what do we see?
So Ver is part Ling, and you know this because on his like arms and legs, they're kind of covered in this fur, basically.
And like concerning the size, is he like, obviously if you hear quarterling, the first association is halfling, but that is two completely different things. Are quarterlings like the same size or taller or smaller?
I think he's kind of stocky, but I think in general, people who are part Ling are mostly the same as humans.
Mm-hmm. So does he have like a superior taste, not superior, but a special taste in clothes? Do we know that he's a noble from just looking at him?
We don't necessarily know that he's noble just from looking at him. So the bit of backstory that we fleshed out about his family is they used to be kind of rich, but now they the only thing that they have going for them is they have a bunch of land where they have animals, and he was kind of an active rancher there. He does have this little cogwheel monocle thing that he likes to wear, but it's kind of beat up a little bit. So some people might recognize it as part of his like noble house if they know something about his family or the similar families.
And I think he's I know you tell me, but isn't he like kind of good looking, a handsome
Yeah, he's
man?
generally kind of like well built and attractive.
And I like that he has 70s style mutton chops,
Oh yeah, I forgot
like
about
Blueberry
those
from
that I
the
rolled.
Mobius comics. Awesome. Anything else about your character? Let's
I
see.
think that's mostly it. He has a scimitar, a scale shirt, and a sling. Sling is just a very practical, you need to throw something to get someone's attention kind of
Mhm.
rancher life. But he is otherwise traveling pretty light as far as stuff goes.
Yeah, scimitar I can see, and a scale shirt. All right. And where would Ver be?
I think Vera would be in either riding in the wagon or helping with the ponies for the wagon.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And so, yeah, if you riding the wagon, then next to you there is Brastich, the aforementioned ghost hunter, who sits next to you and either holds the reins if you don't drive, or probably nods, has his face in the shadow, his pale face.
We've probably been trading off tending the wagon.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So let's see. The new Chris, could you roll a d8 for the encounter?
Sure. That's a 7.
Let's see. Oh, that is very fitting. So when you approach the Behemoth Shell, which is this mountainous, gigantic, spiraling shells, overgrown by, I think, cedar or pine trees. You can see on the road, approaching you, a weird-looking. It's also a wagon, but it is an auto wagon, so it's not drawn by anything. It moves onto itself, and it seems to be constructed by bones. And on the, it looks a little bit like like an old Citroën van police car. I don't know if you know what I mean. It's a little bit squarey. It is constructed from bones, and there are two people piloting the this auto van. And when you approach, they're slowing down. There's like smoke coming from some kind of exhaust, and it makes an incredible noise when they slow down. And there's a face looking out of the, like, from the side, and he's shouting, "I can't brake!" And so my question to Nida is, well, actually, sorry, Puckett, my question is to Ver Wilkes, because you are on the front of the car. How do you know that these are members of the Great Folk? What makes them the Great Folk? Are they?
Ooh.
we do know that they are bone crafters of some kind. But are they like especially tall? Do they have like huge heads or something?
I think the thing we see right now, because one of them is sticking their head out, is he has these like piercings on his face, and he has these like intricately carved bones through them.
Cool. So he says with a hoarse voice, "You want to trade? Anything to trade?"
But can you stop? We can't trade if you can't stop.
Well, we can slow down. And another of the great folk steps outside, and she presses her, broad shoulders to the cart to slow it down even further. We got marrow beats and boneworks.
Maybe.
What do you
that's all I can stammer out. I think I holler like, I don't know, we lost the saffron. What is stuff that we have that isn't illegal?
Is the synthahol illegal?
No, not necessarily, unless they have like some weird religion.
I mean, they might not like it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's not
but
like immediately.
Yeah, it's not
black
a drug.
market.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think shout out that we have some synthahol and some other alcohol stuff. So we have the Soma, and we have some tech stuff.
So let's see. So I think the car or the auto wagon rolls slowly past you, very slowly, and the bone farmer who stepped out, they're both wearing overalls, and they have this high, like weirdly high cheekbones, and as you said, the piercings and the bone fragments inserted into them, and he says, synthahol, yes. Well, so how much do you have?
That is a good question.
So he has, essentially they will sell you, they don't have bone works on them, they say, but they can sell you calcinous marrow beads, which apparently is some kind of compressed lichen. Let's see what it says. And the price that they offer is 100 per sec. So I don't know what the synthahol is worth.
Looks like we got the synthahol, and so our sheet just says synthahol and 50. But it doesn't say whether we have more than one unit.
I guess you have one sec, which is probably a barrel.
Yeah, we have 2 barrels. As near as I can tell, we acquired it at 50.
I mean, you could also just buy stuff, hoping
we have money.
You have money, hoping that because this is where it's harvested, and then you could hope that
it's somewhere.
Yeah, it's worth more. Or you can also say, well, we are filthily rich. 100 per sec doesn't cut it for us.
Yeah, it's not dense enough value.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't really. We could be getting a good deal on it, but we don't know, and we don't have time to research it here. We'd have to get to the Behemoth to do the research.
Yeah.
Useful for something.
Back in 2 minutes. Just talk about.
Sounds good. So I think my takeaway would be, if it's useful for something, that we might have a use for it, then getting some might be worth it. But otherwise, maybe it's not
It sounds
dense
like
enough.
it's just
and
cosmetic.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
I think it's we're probably safe not buying anything right now.
Unless we wanted to like swap the synthahol plus some coin, so that we're not changing our weight. We're just kind of swapping one good for a different.
Depends on how much they'd give us for the synthahol.
Yeah, but that could be something where we do. We try to haggle and we see how good a deal we get, and go from there. Like conceivably, if we rolled well, we could get them to pay extra for the synthahol and give us a good deal on the weird compressed lichen stuff.
And if we roll poorly and they try to take it by force or steal it from us, we can kill them and take their auto wagon.
Yeah, I guess. We'll start the session off with a just always
highway
make things more
robbery.
interesting. Yeah, just always make things more interesting. I mean, I would be fine with giving it a try to see. So the quick summary is, we're thinking if we can try to haggle with them to offer them the synthahol plus a little for one unit of these weird compressed lichen things, so that we're keeping the same weight in the caravan, but getting something maybe more interesting than synthahol.
Definitely.
So like if we could talk them up into like buying the synthahol for 75 and talk them down to selling the lichen for 75, that would be ideal. But we'll see. We'll like roll for it and see how it goes.
Are these necklaces useful for anything that they're selling?
The lichen, they're not really necklaces. They are.
I was imagining like sacks of these like tiny compressed marbles of fungus.
So it says, maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but it says gastropod lichen symbiote tied in its shell. It can stay alive for months.
Oh.
So what do these things do?
Let's see. They're edible, protein-rich, gory chunks in calcareous shells. That's what they do.
Okay.
It's food, I guess, but compressed food. It's like if you're a hiker or something.
Well, that actually might be pretty useful.
Yeah, I would say that it has like a higher, I don't know, like a 3-to-1 or something protein value for you.
So mechanically, what would that translate to?
So that one sack would give you like 3 weeks of food.
It's a denser ration, basically.
Yeah.
Well, they are farmers, they are making food, and we do have microwave wands, which is, might be very useful if you are in the food prep business.
But they would want one of them, not a sack.
That is true. But they might still be willing to, trade a little bit.
Well, you can always like juice up the deal with throwing in a wand. It's like the TV deals where you can, you get these sandals, but you could also the other 10 knives.
Act now. You'll get not just one, but 2 microwave wands.
I would say that if you throw in a wand and remove one soap-sized element from the sack of wands that you have, you get an advantage on haggling, because that's how TV deals work.
I think okay. So if we want to buy a bunch of these rations, then that's maybe worthwhile. If we're just trying to trade a little for a little, then
It doesn't make sense to do that.
Yeah, and you can also assume that what you could also do is travel to the Behemoth Shell, because the marrow beads and the bone works will be produced and harvested there as well.
Yeah.
And then you can invest maybe a bit more time for the haggling.
Yeah, I mean, the same stuff is probably going to be available at the
The Behemoth Shell.
at the
Would they
Behemoth
sell their auto wagon?
Well, I don't think we want their auto wagon. It sounds like it's falling apart.
Great.
Well, they are interested when you mention it.
I think this is the last auto wagon we want to be buying.
I mean, you can try to fix the brakes, is what he says. Well, the brakes are practically working. Like, essentially, they're working. You have to push, more than once. And somebody has to press their back against it. But
You just said they were broken.
So
it slows down. Come on, it slows down. What does the brake do? It slows down the car.
No, the brake stops the auto wagon.
Well,
It slows it down. It stops it.
some of them, not all. Ours, for example, don't.
We have different definitions of brake.
Well, you can still buy it. We can remove the brake and reduce the price.
Well, it sounds like the brake has already been removed, so you don't need to do that. But you will need to reduce the price.
Well, let's say I bought this new for, let's say, we bought this new for 4,000. You can have it for 2, and I throw in not 2 but 4 sacks of marrow beads.
You spent 4,000 for that?
Well, that was, some years ago.
well,
It's not a bad deal for an
it's
auto
not a
wagon.
bad deal for an auto wagon. If we can get it fixed up at the Behemoth Shell, then it might actually be a pretty good deal for an auto wagon.
And
I have
this holds 24 sacks, correct?
No, this holds 6 sacks.
Oh, so it's a small, it's a
Yeah.
mini auto
6
wagon.
sacks?
If you look at the,
I'm looking at a biomechanical beast.
yeah, I
Is that
know. If you want to, you can have a look at the drive, the Google Drive, and there is a new folder called Vehicles. And
Yeah, you
the
sent that to
vehicle-
us last week, didn't you?
No, I added it today. And the first car is the car that you're seeing, but then in bone form. The first picture.
That little rust bucket?
Yeah,
So
well, that's a much worse deal than I thought it was.
It
I
is a
will-
much worse deal.
I will share this for the thousands of fans that will watch this. So let's see.
And the second one is a bone tuk-tuk.
You don't see the bone tuk-tuk yet.
Okay. I just happened to click down to the next one, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean, I don't see a reason to spend that much on something that's going to carry less than our current wagon.
Okay. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. It was worth a shot. We get it, but do you want
All right.
do you want to trade some food for some synthahol?
Sure, why not? So let's just for shits and giggles, let's have a haggle roll to see how it goes.
Who's our best haggler at this point?
A good brother, I'd imagine.
Yeah, for charisma.
Yeah, unless
We let our accountant do the work.
Let's
We are rolling with. Are we rolling with wisdom or charisma?
I
think it's
have
charisma.
Is it charisma?
Selling and buying
Yes.
for margin.
yeah.
All right.
Deal making and a haggle.
There's
I just know it's not me.
there's figuring out the market, and then there's
Yeah, and then
Buying and
there's
selling.
the haggling, and charisma makes so much sense. So you would roll a d20 and add your charisma modifier.
All right. My charisma modifier is +1. So that is a 16 + 1, a 17.
Nice. You get a great deal, and I would say in this case it doesn't specify the specifics, but in that case I would say they trade sec for sec. So the 50 synthahol sec for 100 worth of bone marrows, which might be worth more in other areas.
nice.
All right.
We can call it like we sold it for 75, basically.
Yeah.
And got a good deal on the.
And so, I mean, the two of them, they jump in their auto wagon, and practically they get out like a tin cup and already pouring the synthahol and honking the horn. While you are approaching the Behemoth Shell.
Are we only trading one of the synthahols? Or are we going to stock up on this?
I think
yeah.
the one synthahol took up 2 units of space.
I thought it was 1 for 1.
One. I do not know.
Great. Good.
I don't recall.
We did not have details about how much synthahol we had.
Oh,
we have 2. Well, we had 2 units of it.
Okay.
And did we want to do anything with the rest of our food? Like just see if we can trade that as well? Do we want to stock up on this stuff, in other words?
So it's on the other tab. So there's the tab for trade goods, which is the stuff. This is more for market research, and then there's a caravan tab, and that is what you actually have, like the amounts. Yeah. Do you want to buy more? Do you want to keep one synthahol?
I think it would be smart to trade both.
All right.
Yeah, if everybody agrees, then just remove the 2 synthahol and add 2 barrow meat. And during the break, I will write down, or you can do it now if you want, on the trade goods tab. Oh, you already have.
Yeah,
but the price would be 100. So that's what you can sell it for if you do market research and it's 1 for 1.
Okay.
All right, and this is this? Can you type what we're calling this in chat, Horst?
Yeah, we're kind of estimating how to spell what this is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
or
like marrow, like in bone marrow.
Oh, that makes sense because they are bone farmers.
Beet.
Makes sense. Marrow. Oh, beet.
Okay.
I like it.
Nice.
Okay, and so let's do the box text readout about the Behemoth shells. What were these things? These mountain-sized, calcite-encrusted creatures that suspended themselves on levitation lenses and drifted and dragged themselves along the surface. Sages speculate demiurges might have used them to sculpt the world, to deform it closer to some divine ideal. Most are gone. The logarithmically multi-spiraled shell of the greatest of their kind slumps here, a lumpy, curling mountain like a cross between a sea urchin and a conch. The satraps may claim it, but truly it belongs to the great folk who live upon and in it, scurrying like lice within its ageless bulk. And I think I shared the picture last time. So it's this huge shell. So the next day, after you made camp and moved on, in the morning, so the first couple of hours of the morning, it stays dark, as it has been the last couple of weeks, and the sun rises later and later every week. So by now it is almost noon when the weird, like violet haze, this kind of radiation that radiates from the ground, dissipates, and the sun has the power to illuminate everything. When you approach the Behemoth Shell, you can see that there's this big cave-like opening that leads deeper into what you would have to assume is some kind of community. And so and that you can also see that there are a couple of transports parked outside the Behemoth Shell. And among them, neither there is like a pretty evil-looking auto wagon that you remember from the low road and the high. And there are a couple of smaller auto wagons that were also part of the Redlander caravan. And as an information for the others, Nida, what do you know about these Redlanders?
They're robbers and murderers. So, yeah, fun people.
And the last time, at least, there were about a dozen of them.
Yeah, 2 auto wagons, about a dozen Redlanders.
So what do? Do you park alongside them? They don't seem to be around their van. Seem to be inside.
Damn it. Do I notice any message points for Legion of the Farsight around?
You would assume that if there are, they are probably on the mountain.
Okay. Well, I relay all the information I have about these Redlanders to everybody else. I point out that they rob travelers, they murder them. We don't have proof of this yet, but there were fingers attached to the rings and such that we found last time. Because they looked really, really suspicious. Do we want to stop? See if we can get here?
Do we think that this is a place where they'll give us trouble? Or do we think that this is civilized enough that they'll go on their way and we can pass them?
Usually, places like this are relatively safe. That doesn't mean we won't have issues, but generally, bandits try not to make scenes at settlements. They want to do it on the road where there are fewer witnesses, fewer people who can see, less chance of getting caught. So, could it be a problem here? Of course. But it is more likely that it will be a problem on the open road.
I mean, I guess the trade-off is if we stay here, they could go off their whatever way they're going, which in likelihood may not be the way we're going.
Could be.
Or we could keep an eye out to see which way they go.
And we should do that.
Or we
should also see
keep going and have a head start on them.
We could also do that.
But
I need to see if there's a message drop for the Legion of the Farsight, because I've mentioned this group to the Legion before. There may be a bounty on them by now.
Okay.
And
I don't necessarily want to get in a fight with them, but because from the looks of all that, and like gesturing to like the multiple auto wagons and stuff, I'm like, there's probably more of them than us.
We could hire allies. We could find allies. They're murderers. And they kill solely for wealth. They don't kill out of necessity. And they don't care who they kill or what they kill. They're a threat to everyone. So if we can remove them, that makes the road safer for all, including us.
Well, if you need to look for that message, we need to look for help to take care of these. And I guess we're stopping here either way.
That makes sense. And unfortunately, I can't just... If I could deal with them myself, I would have done so already. But they outnumbered us the last time we saw them. We were able to avoid them the next time. But this is the third time we've encountered them. The first time, that was when we discovered what they were doing. The second time, well, that was back at the Wicker Man. Perhaps the third time's the charm. Maybe we can finally do something about them.
It seems as if you're staying. Do you leave the wagon and the walker behind with a guard, or do you all move into the Behemoth Shell, or do you stay at the wagon?
Vigo doesn't need to come with us.
Yeah, Vigo stays. And yeah.
Yeah, do we want, if we're worried about, like, if there is a worry that they might try something despite us being at this settlement. Is just Vigo enough?
Okay, so I need to check to see if there's a message drop. Are we thinking about doing any trading here?
Yeah, so the questions are always, do you want to discover the surroundings?
Yeah.
Looking for, clues for the Great Forgetting and for pearls and for vile parts. Do you want to do the market research? Do you want to do the trading?
I think we need to look into auto wagons, trading, like to see what else we could find that would be valuable later on down the road. So we need to do some market research.
Yeah, I think this might be a decent stop here,
Yeah.
Can I check for vile parts here?
Not at a location. Not at the what's it called? A destination location. Well, there are discoveries, and you can always find them at discovery. So what you would have to do, Abe, is you would have to look for discoveries in the vicinity of the Behemoth Shell, and I think you get one attempt for free, and then if you want, you spend your week looking for discoveries. That would be the thing that you do. So everybody has an action that takes roughly a week, and one of the action could be looking for discoveries, going there, and then looking for a vile part. So maybe let's do this. Let's see. Discoveries. Discoveries and destinations. So I need to get a D20. I don't know. I think Brother Methuselah did it last time. Let's go on the character keeper and just to the right. So it would be neither. And maybe there would be obviously after you try to contact the Legion. But we just make the roll regardless now, so that you have more options to what to do.
Okay,
So,
what roll am I making?
I would assume that maybe even when you climb up on the Behemoth Shell, because that is the most likely point where one of the doves would.
It is. It's the high point.
And then when you're up there, you have an incredible view over the landscape, and you would view probably through your scope. And so I assume it would be wisdom, because that always has to do with perception.
Great, one of my worst stats. So I'm doing a roll under, correct?
No, you roll a d20, and if so, how bad is your?
It's 8.
It's 8. D&D players help me. Is that that is a plus minus 0? I think. I don't think that.
I think so for old D&D.
8 is actually -1. I just checked. So you would roll a d20 -1, and you want to roll a 12 at least.
All right.
Well, a 13 with a -1.
Hang on. Roll an 80-20. That's a 1.
A 1. I'll read you out what it says on a 1. Nothing but blank stares, but 1d6 days after leaving, the heroes get to experience an honest-to-goodness bonus ambush encounter. Which I I will roll the d6 after you left the Behemoth Shell. And so you move into the shell. You find some kind of so the shell itself. There's this gigantic, I would say, cave, and from the cave, there's like claustrophobic corkscrew. How is it described here? Like very narrow veins that lead deeper into the shell, and you can rent a place on your own. It would be let's see, it's in the Great Folk Village. I think it's 5 cash per person per week. And you can still look for clues. After the break, we will see if Nida finds information from the Legion. And you can already think about what to do if you want to buy a transport, maybe. I think Brother Methuselah will probably do the market research. And Azure, if you want to make a roll to look for more locations, you can do that as well. Not more discoveries. But I would say we play for an hour. Shall we do like 5 after the until 5 past, like 35?
Sure.
Okay, cool. See you soon.
All right. See you in a bit.
In a bit.
Horst, is that overlay new?
Yeah, just edit it.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah,
Very
I want
fancy.
it's very fancy. I can do it as a ticker, but that is a bit irritating, I think. Yeah, I need to upgrade my my skills. Maybe dabble in OBS or something. But I'm old and not really tech savvy, so it might take some time before I really get into it.
You might talk to Alan or Gerwin. I know Gerwin uses OBS a bit, and Alan might have written up a guide for it.
Yeah, I've seen the guy. My eyes start to glaze after like 3 sentences. I downloaded the OBS thing. That's the first step. And let's see. Cool. So we are back. I have a question for Azure. When you enter the cave, it is immediately cooling. Like outside is really, really hot, but in the shadow of the Behemoth Shell and definitely in the shadow of this huge room, it's pleasantly cool. And so there's some kind of market, and how can we see that the great folk that produce their trade goods, that they are dabbling into bone mancy, if that is a word. Like they're bone mancers. They are some kind of wizards, let's say, and they can grow bones, mend bones.
They can grow bones.
Well, you tell me. So they are bone mancers. That's what we know. But what kind of goods would they sell other than the resources, which is marrow beads? What kind of bone work do we see?
Well, I think each one of the booths in the market is surrounded by a fence of bones or like ribs sticking up surrounding it, and like pretty much all the structures that are not necessarily permanent, but they're all based around like instead of using sticks for like to hold up the tent, it's all bones. Also, the bones are grown at non-bone like angles, like there are like bones with 90-degree, 45-degree angle turn. Like they've learned how to engineer them to suit their purposes. So it's not just like a Flintstones, thing where it's like dinosaur bones sticking out of the ground. It's like they've become adept at kind of like terraforming the bones into whatever shapes and needs they want. Like maybe in the center of the market, there's like a prison watchtower that's like maybe 2 or 3 stories high with guards on, like with crossbows or guns or something, just keeping an eye on things, but it's all it's all in an exoskeleton, like the framework is all bones, and then like they use like leather or wood for floors or something like that, but it's just the whole thing is built out of like these bone structures.
Cool. And I imagine that the bone tower in the middle also has some kind of lamps or lights to illuminate the cave centrally.
Yep, definitely.
And another question is for Brother Methuselah. You are an expert in golem programming. How do the bone golems, like at least one of them, could you describe one of them that they sell?
Yeah. Well, I think that the golems are constructed in such a way that, well, they definitely hew more towards the side of, like, Golem of Prague, like constructed, man-made. The bones are not from the same creature, I don't think. They are sort of overlapped and layered to create a larger humanoid being that is not any one specific thing before it was, before its death and then remolding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in the chest of the golem is some like cavity where the actual programming paper is, coiled and hidden and, protected by a lot of little smaller bones from like birds, small animals, to create like a very firm cage around it.
Cool. And the like, can you see the programming? Is it like you described it as a programming paper?
Yeah, I think it is. It is a roll of paper with some, uh, you know, magical programming on it, which is then. I don't know if you know how Tefillin work, but you have prayers written on small slips of paper, and then they go into a box, and then they're worn in a ritual way. And I think it's like a similar thing. Like you have these ancient prayers and codices that are copied down and then stored inside of the golem. I don't think they are visible from the outside, but I think you can see where they are held in it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I imagine it's probably similar to, I don't know if you know the old way to do echo, and they would have a piece of a tape, and then you could loop a phrase, and that would go through the reading head. So the paper would go through the machine being read, and the program is in that way executed. Cool. And then question 4 for Ver. I don't know how to pronounce this. Ver? Is it Ver?
Ver or Ver is
both okay.
Yeah.
How does your like the room you're staying? It's one. I assume it's one room for the 4 of you. And you do pay money for it, so it does have to have some kind of what's it called, like commodities? Is that a word?
I think you mean
amenities.
Amenities.
That's the one. What makes it nicer than staying out with the caravan?
Yeah, what doesn't make it more attractive than staying in the wagon? Do you have beds made from bone? Do you have actual pillows? Is there a shower or something?
I definitely think there's, like, we can get baths drawn. So there's this tub made out of, like, it's almost like horn or bone grown out. So it's like this single piece in this big tub. And there's this bucket and pulley system. There's this like a dumbwaiter elevator that we can request buckets of hot water, and we drag them up and dump them in the bath.
Nice. Who's like? We know that Nida is at the moment climbing up the Behemoth Shell. Who's the first in the bath?
If no one makes a move to figure out how the bath works, I think Ver is like, hell yeah, I'm drawing a bath.
Yeah. And I mean, these mutton chops, they need to be maintained. Otherwise, you just have a beard.
They get gross fast.
Yeah. Tell me about it. And yeah, I have the mental image of Ver grooming themselves, sitting in this elongated horn tube.
I think I have some like fancy comb that I brought with me that I use I'm just like laying in the bath, and because I also like my arms and my legs are covered in fur too, so it's like I have a lot of material that can accumulate dust and grime on the road. No one is going to want to go in this tub after me.
Well, you might have to clean it.
Yeah.
In between sessions.
Yeah.
Cool.
Grooming
and when you lie in the bathtub, is it like more like the whistling? Are you the whistling type? Is it more like with a big cigar? Do you read anything or?
I imagine that I'm the type that would have like a glass of scotch and my comb, and I would alternate like combing through my beard/fur and sipping a drink.
Awesome. And so, Nida, it's outside. You're climbing the Behemoth Shell, and it is much more work than you have anticipated, especially because it's really hot. I mean, once in a while you pass these pine trees, and they spend some shade. But it is definitely work. When you finally reach the top, first of all, how does there is a message point from the Legion, as in all major destinations in the UVG. How does this one look like?
It looks like a little hut, and there's a few holes in it. Basically, it's an octagon, and there's holes in it at each of the sides, and then there's like a little hut on top of it, which also has holes in it, but it's only four-sided on the top. So it's like a little. Now I can't recall the word. It's like a little pagoda.
Nice.
But a pigeon pagoda.
But can you enter the pagoda? So is it big enough for?
No, this is different sized. This is just, for some reason, whoever put this pigeon way station for the Legion up here, they were feeling a bit extra that day.
And how can you see that it is actually maintained? So somebody was here maybe a day or 2 days before.
I can still smell the paint.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why they're painting it, but, well, they're painting it.
And
that actually honestly suggests that somebody from the Legion of the Far Side is here.
Must be.
I mean, and probably lives here, because there's no, the Legion wouldn't send someone out here to paint this thing.
Yes. So you don't know who that person is, and you can definitely see that there's like fresh, maybe bird feathers, so that there had been a message had been exchanged. But whoever maintains the pagoda has read the message and sent the pigeon back.
Great.
but they're still, they should be still, they're living here. You know that.
So it's just a matter of finding them.
Mm-hmm. And you would spot them, maybe not in a large crowd, but what gives it normally away? Is it like a small symbol that is hidden? Is it obviously there's some kind of call and response to make sure that
There is. A lot of times it's the rifle.
mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, if someone lives somewhere, they're not going to have their rifle with them all the time. But if you see them with the rifle, then you know generally there are not many people who have these rifles.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the people who do are members of the Legion of the Farsight. So if you see the rifle in a residence or on someone's person, the odds are very good that you're in the presence of someone from the Legion. Otherwise, there's a tattoo. And it goes on the left hand. And it's very subtle. There's no circle. It's just a very slight crosshair symbol.
Awesome. So one follow-up question, like they obviously want to be secretive because they're always in danger of being, like, if, for example, the Redlanders would know that there's a scope in the settlement, they would try to take them out. So
Probably.
it's not something that you like hang out, an information that you make known to others.
Not usually. For the most part, the Legion is known as an organization that takes out threats to everyone. Vomes, rogue critters, that sort of thing. But when those threats also include robbers, bandits, etc., bandits generally have a low opinion of the Legion, especially once they become known or they draw the Legion's attention.
But in general, you would also assume that if there's a civilized settlement, you had the solidarity of everyone who is not
A bandit.
A bandit. Okay, cool.
I mean,
yeah,
it's an organization that's known for trying to make the roads and the pathways and trails safer for everyone. And they know that people know that if you are in that if you're in the Legion, you're not a bandit. I mean, whatever else, you may be a killer, but you kill for reasons, and they're good reasons.
So what's your plan? What's your next step?
Well, I was thinking about this during the break. We're going to be here for a week, and I can use Ajax's ability once a day, correct?
Yeah.
I think I want to start thinning the Redlander herd. And I can just Ajax, I'll let him sleep the rest of the time, but I want him taking out one of those Redlanders per day. Permanently. So he'll be well fed. I know he likes dining on Bandit. And in the meantime, I will look for that member.
Okay, so
I have a sneaking suspicion the guard tower is probably a good place to start.
So let's see. Do you send Ajax with a mission to kill, or do you use him as a tool in the sense that they go in, he has this paralyzing sting. So is the idea that Ajax stings the Redlander and you finish them off, or is the idea that Ajax does the whole thing?
My conception is that Ajax does the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
He just like finds a Redlander off by themselves, takes them out, while I'm looking for the member of the Legion of the Far Side.
Makes sense.
Because there's
I
no
would-
way this plan could go wrong.
Well, I disagree. I would say that if you send him off, that is a roll, because Ajax then has really to fight, maybe like bite the throat or
Oof.
something.
That's a very good point.
If you send them to paralyze, that wouldn't be a roll. Then the roll for you would be, I don't know, to get into the room or something.
You know what? I need to find that member of the Legion first, because otherwise I'm killing without sanction.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So let's finish this off, maybe. So you wanted to go to the tower.
I figure the guard tower, the Overwatch position, is probably a good place to start looking, because if people there don't know, aren't the person in question, they might be inclined to let me know who is.
Mm-hmm. So you climb down, and you're really sweaty. I mean, you have the dryland weave, but still,
Yeah.
You're really sweaty and dusty when you return to the cave, and it's such a nice feeling when it's a slight patchouli smell in the air when you enter the cave. And there's definitely like a ladder leading up to the tower, and at the moment there's one guard, and she does have a crossbow.
Mhm.
And it's like a great folk guard, so she has the piercings.
Well met.
You're at the you're starting climbing.
Oh yeah, I'm at the tower already.
Okay.
I thought
I thought
this is what you were saying. Like I'm up there and this is what I'm seeing.
Okay. No, that is what you're seeing when you look up. When you start climbing up, she points the crossbow at you from above.
I raise both my hands and keep walking.
Where do you think you're going?
I'd like to talk.
Just keep showing these hands.
Understood.
And I assume that it's not a ladder, because otherwise you couldn't walk up. It's probably more like a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
So well met indeed. What makes you the sheriff of the Behemoth Shell?
I'm the sheriff of nothing. I'm a traveler, but I'm looking for someone. And considering that you have an Overwatch position, I thought that they either might be here or you might know them.
She looks at your rifle. Oh, I think I know who you mean.
Yes, the person who tends the thing above us. Far above us.
Now, he arrived maybe 2 weeks ago. Seems to be reliable, more reliable than the drunkard that was before him. I mean, I'm not saying that you all know each other, but do you know Beauregard?
What a strange coincidence. I recruited him.
Oh, wow. So you're higher up.
I take it he's not traveling with the Sarai anymore?
He is apparently a member of, he's one of the good guys now. Not selling his his precious cat rifle for money, but doing the good thing, doing the good deeds.
Good. He seemed like a good man when I met him. That's why I chatted with him and asked him.
Well, if you recruited him, he will be pretty pleased to see you. And then she describes where to find him. And let's go over the list of things that you would do. So I already know that Nida will try to thin the crowd of Redlanders. And Chris had a pretty good idea about the your wagon and the porcelain walker.
Yeah, because we don't want to, like, we have a bunch of expensive stuff, and it would probably be for the best if we just kind of stay under the radar and try to hide it or make it less noticeable.
I mean, the Redlanders will definitely recognize your wagon. So there was like an altercation, and they suspected the caravan of robbing the robbers, so to speak. And so seeing you again would definitely raise suspicion. And you have the gigantic cockflower symbol on the side.
Yeah, then that is probably a worthwhile thing for one of us to spend our action on.
Okay, so that would be one action. Then think about your, you want to get information about all these things, but that could be done by one person. One person looks for a destination, and then you might go there as a group. And then I think you wanted to buy transportation, like not transportation, like a vehicle.
Yeah, we were considering maybe one person goes and looks for buying and selling opportunities, or looks specifically for an auto wagon or something like that. So and then there's carry more stuff.
And then there's Brother Methuselah, who could do the market research if you want to get even richer than you already are.
Yeah, I think Brother Methuselah does want to do some market research while he's here. And I also agree that I think buying an auto wagon would be smart if one is available at Behemoth Shell.
And Azure, what do you think? What would be her action? Well, somebody. I mean, if you have hiding the camp, market research, and buying like an auto wagon, that's already 3 actions. So maybe let's start, because Brother Methuselah knows what he will do, which is doing the market research. So you find a like-minded, not like-minded, but somebody who you find somebody who is obviously a traveler. He's not or they are not a bone farmer or bone mancer. They must be a traveler. And I think it's actually a satrap. So I don't know if you remember, Josh, satraps are these weird creatures of light that are enclosed in within a suit with this weird bubble helmet. And let me go over the rules just quickly. I think you have to throw a party or something. I think you do need to buy them drinks, so to speak. Let's see. Must be under trade goods. So market research. Spend a day and an equal amount of cash to the local expenses, which is in your case 5 cash, which is not too bad. And you learn the local price of a trade good in an adjacent destination, but you want to spend a week, I guess, and that is 5 times the local expenses, which is 25, which is still not too bad, and you learn the local price of a trade good in a chain of 3 destinations.
All right. Well, in that case, I guess, yeah. So I spend a week to find, and I would like to find out what what the trade is like at moon facing forward. From there, I think we should probably talk before we decide, because if I pick one of the off branches, from that is not binding, obviously, but it is a pretty big push in one of the directions. So
You can also look at the bigger map. I mean, in the folder, there is the whole map. It's called Grand Long Map. It differs a little bit concerning the routes, but the destinations are the same.
yeah,
and you would have to pick. So the way it works is you pick a trading good, which could be like it always makes sense to pick the trading good that is produced where you are at the moment, then buy it in bulk, and then see where you get the best price.
yeah. So then, what they produce here is the marrow beets.
Yeah, and bone works, which is I wrote it down. It's 200 per sec, and it's some kind of magically enhanced bones.
Okay. So let's say we want to go with Boneworks because they are more expensive per bag.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I guess open to the table whether we want to go to, whether we want to investigate prices at Glass Bridge or at Near Moon, or, whichever one of the destinations.
Do we know the perennial question? Do we know anything about these destinations already?
Yeah, you know a little bit, I think.
Yeah, even like little rumors.
Yeah. So the moon-facing fort is it's a big river. It's the river that you have to pass. I think. Let me check. Anyways, I guess. Where is it? Well, yeah, you have to pass in any case. And what you know about it, there is there's like the Toll Masters Guild on the river itself, which is another place of actual trade. You know that the glass bridge belongs to the 3 sticks area. There are definitely ruins, like ruins of old cities. The near moon is rumored to be an actual moon that hovers about as far as you can shoot an arrow over the surface, and with the help of towers that has been built under it, you can actually get onto the moon, and there's rumored to be incredible treasures in the core of the moon. And 3 Sticks itself is like, the people there are supposed to be weird. They they are definitely able to protect themselves. I think the rumors also. I mean, there's a rumor table. Let's get that go, because I don't think that there's much known about them. Let's see, is there a rumor table? Oh no, it's not. But yeah, what you know is that they're a bit more maybe simpler than like a simple folk, fishers mostly.
I guess maybe the split is whether we like take the route down near Moon to Spectrum Run or investigate some of the ruins and then head down to the refracting trees. Maybe that's kind of the split for the upcoming stuff. So if either of the routes seem more interesting to people, then that would push where we would want to know prices.
Yeah. I mean,
or maybe knowing the prices
can
would
push you in a direction. Yeah, exactly.
So either sounds interesting. A moon hovering over the plains is interesting, and more ruins are always interesting. So
you also know that the Spectrum Run is supposed to be really, really dangerous.
okay.
And I mean, it's probably I think it's also called the Spectrum Cross. Yeah, the rumor is that it's really, really dangerous.
Great.
Okay, so Brother Methuselah, what do you think? Or maybe Abe and Puckett, because you will be here for the next season. What sounds more interesting? What should Brother Methuselah inquire about?
Looking at the map, Chris, are you here next time or for the next sessions?
I'm out in June.
Okay. So it's just Abe and I?
I think so.
Yeah, will be back, and there's a new player.
Abe, what do you think?
It seems to have some problems, so it's up to you, Puckett. You must decide.
Okay. Three Sticks Lake, Near Moon, and what the hell? Spectrum Crossing.
All right.
But you have to start with an adjacent position, so you have to start with
So moon facing forward, and then near moon, and then
Three Sticks.
Three Sticks. Although we can't get to Three Sticks because we would need to do. If we want to investigate Three Sticks, then we have to do Glass Bridge.
Yes.
I get what you're saying now. Yes. Because Three Sticks is not the next stop after moon facing forward. It is the stop after moon facing forward.
And they do have to be adjacent to each other. It's a chain.
Well, we're at the Behemoth, right?
Yes.
Because I'm looking at the long map, and it looks like Behemoth to moon facing forward.
The paths are different in the zoomed in map that we have in the character keeper and on the big map.
Yeah, I used that was a problem in the second session, I think. It was Dan, I think, who said that in the book it's different than on the map, and I used the map from the book, not the long map that was.
Okay, now I see. Yeah, so we go from Behemoth Shell to moon facing forward to near moon or glass bridge.
So we can't. So that when you say it has to be a chain, that means we can't split it to say moon facing forward, glass bridge, and near moon. We would have to do.
We could do glass bridge and near moon. We
Okay.
can't do. Do we want to do glass bridge and near moon?
Because that would give at least some information if we make a choice. If you have to make a choice down the line.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Cool.
So
Glass bridge, near moon, and moon facing forward.
all right. Wonderful.
3 sticks sounds like they probably don't have a ton of cash. So
Okay, so Brother Methuselah, the person you're talking to the whole week, how do you try to, like, what is the expenses? Like, how does that manifest?
I think that the expenses are, whining and dining. I think Brother Methuselah is treating the merchants that he is discussing with to dinner at wherever you can get dinner at the Behemoth Shell.
Mm-hmm.
He's plying them with maybe a shot or two of the Black Lotus schnapps.
Cool. Yeah, it's Satrap 13 Ahab, and they have a rather charming personality trait. Chris, what is the charming personality trait?
I think they're really inquisitive in kind of this endearing way. Like you give like a hint about something about your background, and they're like, "Ooh, that sounds super interesting. Tell me more."
Yeah, they want to know everything about the ancient abacus that you have.
Like,
but they're not
accountancy, so interesting.
Yes, accountancy.
Tell me more about numbers.
But they also have a personality trait that is off-putting. Neither. What is it?
I can't believe you're going to make me say this. They have a religious aversion to bathing. It's literally part of the faith.
That was for 2000? Not?
And I mean, they're creatures of light. So the bathing would probably, it's the suit that is stained, I guess.
It's very dirty, and it has odors.
Cool. And
because
so
they're creatures of light, they don't notice.
So how do you deal with them? So you serve them the Black Lotus schnapps, obviously, and you go out to dine. I think there's definitely a one of the booth things is from a nomad, and she's called Shiver Erbert of the Third Eye, and she serves this like really advanced or not advanced, what's it called, avant-garde yogurts and molds. They are served in small pots, and in any case, Ahab is delighted to have someone to to ask about accountancy. And I think after the week, you know them pretty well. You know what buttons to push. And so let's make the roll. Unless you wanna, I mean, I would give you an advantage if you play with a trait somehow. If you could exploit their personality in some way. But other than that, it would be a charisma roll, I guess. Let's see. Trade goods. After all the relevant test, yeah. It depends on how you go about. Is it you want to charm them, be brilliant with your intellect, outdrink them with constitution?
Yeah, let's say that I'm trying to impress them. Maybe I do a little pro bono accountancy for them.
Mm-hmm.
Balance some numbers, so that way they can pocket some extra change.
Cool. Yeah. So, what would that be? Intelligence?
Yeah, intelligence, and then that would also be relevant to my Jeremiah training.
Uh-huh. So yeah, let's do intelligence with advantage. Well, let me see. Advantage here means you roll your intelligence modifier and you roll 2d20 and pick the higher result.
All right. So I'll just roll these. That is 8 and a 2, so 9 is my first.
Oh yeah.
Thing there.
So for the first, which is near moon, the price is half, so 0.5. So near moon, I'll write this down, otherwise I forget. Near moon, Boneworks is 0.5.
Okay.
Okay, and the second destination, which is
The second destination is moon facing forward. Or actually, I think the first one is moon facing forward.
yeah, exactly. Moon facing forward is 0.5. Moon facing. And then the second is either a near moon or glass bridge. Which is it?
Let's say near moon.
Okay.
Then I will roll that again. That is a 7.
Which is they produce it here apparently. The near moon, there must be a well-known bone mancer. So the factor is 0. So you would give it away for free.
Okay. And then at Glass Bridge, we roll that again, and that is 18.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. Interesting. So at Glassbridge itself, they buy it for the normal price, but there is a place 2 stops further that pays 3 times the price. So let me count. Glassbridge, 1, 2. It's not on the map even. I have to get the big map. See.
That would be the Spectrum Palace, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Let's see. 3 sticks, reflecting trees. It's Spectrum Palace. 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, at the Spectrum Palace, they pay thrice the price.
Okay. So, interesting.
All right. And so, I don't know, Abe, how much you heard from the discussion, but there we were talking about 3 things that need to be done, or actually 4 things.
Okay.
Market research, hiding the camp, otherwise I will roll a d6 in the, like a luck roll to see if the Redlanders will spot you. Buying maybe an auto wagon or look for discoveries. What sounds most interesting to you or most important?
Well, looking for discovery sounds like the most interesting, but not getting jumped by the Redlander seems like it's pretty important. So
yeah, I would say if Nida tries to take out one of them, that is maybe an action for one day, and that would be related to the Redlanders. Do you agree, Nida, that this is something that she would do?
As if she has authorization from the Legion of the Farsight, yeah.
Yeah. So that leaves us with auto wagon or discoveries.
So one thing I threw in chat was, this sounds like we may be reaching a 2-week stop at the Behemoth Shell, especially if we want to deal with the Redlanders and do all of our shopping and preparation for going forward.
Oh, cool.
If that seems reasonable. So like first week, Vera could totally be in charge of like hiding our camp and our vehicles and stuff. Nida could try to get us set up and maybe recruit some allies for us attacking the Redlanders.
Maybe it takes that long to make a Osteoman's bone wagon, auto wagon.
Yeah.
And then the second week we can, buy a bone wagon. We can buy a bunch of bones to fill a bone wagon with more bones.
Yeah.
We can figure out how to get a wagon to ford a river, because from the wagons and mounts tabs, it sounds like they are bad at water.
Yeah, you could theoretically, fit them for an extra cost, but we can discuss that later, maybe with some cow letters.
Just for number of actions and the amount of stuff we're trying to do, and we have enough money to just like, we can stay in our little hotel room and buy food for 2 weeks, and it's fine. Instead of trying to carefully engineer a way to accomplish all of this in 1 week.
Yeah, cool.
If folks are okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with that.
And then we can be extra prepared for what may be a kind of deadly combat encounter.
All right. So I hear that Ver is hiding the camp. How does it look like? Like, how do you hide?
I think part of it is trying to cover up our vehicles that are notable. So like, we established that they potentially recognize our wagon because of the Cogflower church insignia and stuff like that. Our porcelain walker stands out like a sore thumb. These are all things I think finding, sheets of moss or old, sacks and blankets and stuff, and just essentially being like, we're going to make all of this as small as possible. We're going to cover it up and we're going to try to make it look boring.
So you can't cover the porcelain walker with a sack. It's this walking tower.
Yeah. I think not like a sack, but if I can like paste some moss over the porcelain prince's insignia, or something like dirt even.
Yeah. You're hiding the symbol, not the thing. Cool.
Yeah. Or to the best of my, hide stuff as best I can, and maybe it's just like kind of make it look drab and boring otherwise. So
yeah, I don't think that this is a roll. I don't think so. But I just double check.
Alternately, I guess this is the. I guess the goal of this is so that we don't have an encounter with them before the end of the week.
Yeah.
Separately, we could try to set up like a situation so that we could ambush them when we do have the encounter.
Mm-hmm.
Would be kind of an alternate form of this.
Yeah, it would be a different action, like setting
Yeah,
up.
that would be
an
more
ambush.
like around where they are getting, things set up.
Yeah, I would say the way you describe it, there's no role involved. If you cover up the symbol, the wagon is a wagon, like doesn't hundreds of others.
Yeah.
Cool. So Azure, what do you want to do in the first week?
I think maybe just focus on discoveries.
Mm-hmm. And how do you go about this? Do you ask around for interesting sites? Do you look for a high point? Do you go out into the wilderness?
I think I think I'll take the kite up to like a high point to take a look around to see if just kind of like kind of take a meditative walk, and Rue Saffron's passing still, so very affected by that. But yeah, just taking it to the highest point that I can reach, and then taking a look around to see what there is to see.
I think the relevant test here would be plus wisdom again. So let's see. Azure has wisdom of 8. I mean, you might be more successful with using your charms and asking around.
All right, let's see.
But I mean,
charisma's 9, so it's just a little bit better.
It's a tiny bit better.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I'll ask around. Yeah.
So I imagine you, like, in the big cave, you can walk from booth to booth. There's on the parking space, so to speak, in front of the shell, there are always people arriving and leaving. And when you ask around, make a roll a d20 plus your charisma.
Which is 0, right?
Yeah, which is 0.
So it's a 9 or lower?
No, it is actually as high as possible. And you want to roll at least a 12.
All right, hold on a second. I think roll for your party's being weird because I just rolled and it gave me the same number.
Sometimes you roll the same number. I mean, that is possible. Otherwise, I would say just roll again.
Yeah, I'll roll again. Hold on.
But I mean, you rolled a 17, which is not too bad.
You know what? I'm sorry. The die says 14, but the roll says 17. So there must be something up with it. But I'll take 17. Sure.
I would as well. So I read out what it says. In the silences, in the gaps in conversation, in the forgotten words, there is a map. 2 discoveries. Ta-da! And let's see. The 2 discoveries are, I think they're in total 3. So discoveries. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, just to see which one of the which 2 of the 3 you get. Can you roll d6, please? Because
Roll
there are 2
6.
a 6, which is, oh wow, this is so cool. So you hear about 4 days from the Behemoth Shell, there is a floating island, and there is. It's difficult to see from the ground, but one of the merchants in the big hall, they say that he could have sworn that on this floating island there's this strange and alien vegetation, and there's rumors of a pyramid on top of it.
That's pretty delightful.
And then roll a d4.
That'd be a 3.
And the second discovery they talk about is the lurid pines. And about the pines, I think that is the information you get from the nomad shaman, and she says, there was this magical testing site like eons ago, but now there's a forest growing on top of it, and we call it the lurid pines. You might find something valuable under the surface, but it's a dangerous place.
Like lurid, Lurid?
Lurid.
Awesome. And so those are both nearby in some capacity?
Yeah, one is the lurid pines is 2 days away, and the it's called the Ideal Island is 4 days away.
All right, cool. Is it possible? I've switched over. Can I do a oracle as well?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So,
an oracle about these 2 places, I guess.
Yes.
Or is it an oracle about the Redlanders, or?
Well, the last time I did one, I just kind of did a general. I did a general oracle, and there was that thing about the giant beast, and we somehow avoided it and things like that. Actually, yeah. Let me do about these 2. Let me do it about these 2 spots.
Okay. So, can you just quickly describe how it looks like? Is it like the flittering eyes? Is it a meditative?
Yeah, I go back to the wagon, and I climb in the back of the wagon. I pull the whatever, kind of I can roll down to get some sort of semblance of privacy, and kind of get in a meditating position, and kind of go into a trance. I think I have to burn like incense or something like that. I think that's part of the process. Is I was like burning herbs or incense, and inhale the vapors in order to get in the proper state of mind, and then
you hear like a sniffing sound from Vigo, who is really into the herbs. But anyways, when you're in the meditation, So the first thing is you are you are on some kind of mountain, and there's this incredibly like almost obese trees, if that is a word combination that you will ever hear again. And it is as if your eye travels through the ground, and you see a couple of weird things. It looks as if underground there's these caves with ferns, but these ferns unroot themselves and walk around while your eye is passing through them. And one of these ferns is sprouting forth like green. It always looks like mice that run on tiny legs and then root themselves in the ground again and grow. And one place where they root themselves, it seems to be for you that there are crates, and something about the crates gives away that they are full of biomancy gear. What is it, Abe? Is it like a symbol that you recognize? Is it like a pictogram, maybe from a, I don't know, like a leaf?
Well, I think what I think it is that it's got it's worn pretty, like the boxes are very worn, but you can see indentations that are in the old language that say biomancy ordinance, with a serial number sort of thing.
Cool.
I recognize and so with the combination of like the faded symbols and then the what I know of the old language, I've been able to pick up that it's biomancy stuff.
Mm-hmm. But
how many crates are there?
Crates and crates and crates. Like there's these ferns, and they grow over the crates, obviously. But just when your mind wants to turn to the next destination, something other weird happens, and it is in one corner of the cave, the whole side of the cave seems to be made from metal, as if some kind of machine has been crushed into the cave.
Is that in the where we are in the Behemoth Shell?
No. That is underground in the mountain, under the surface of the mountain, where these ornate trees grow. So where the fern is, and the crates with the biomancy gear, and one side of the this underground cave has it reminds you suspiciously of Johnny Seven's side, and there are a couple of tubes sticking out of this metal wall, and it spits out what looks like a bizarre mechanical version of prairie dogs, very similar to the ones that Brother Methuselah fried on as breakfast. But they are mutated, and it seems as if the machine, whatever it is, produces them. And your mind drifts, and it drifts above, and there's this like relatively flat floating island that is connected to the earth with like almost like sinews, is that a word? Sinews of floating stone. And there are these crazy looking plants, very colorful. Um, and the ground is blue. It has a very fleshy, soft texture to it. You can see these enormous flowers as I described, and there are monkeys climbing from one tree to the other. But in the middle of of this island is a pyramid, and just when you marble at the colorful pyramid, every side has a different color. You are I don't know. You have like the feeling in the back of your head as if somebody's pouring like ice water down down the back of your head, and because over the pyramid there's an eye floating, and the eye sees you, and you hear a voice, "Get out now," and your meditation ends. And with that, can we have like a 5 minutes break? Bathroom break? And then we return with Nida and the Redlanders. All right, see you at 10 to 9, 10 to the hour. Chris, have you had a chance to have a look at the extra vehicles that Skirples put on his blog?
No,
Those are great.
Yeah.
Did not see these at all.
I want that auto. I want like the big auto wagon, and I want it with guns. I want
Yeah.
that, not the laser. I want the cannon.
There's also really cool ideas. So you can, for example, mount on certain type of transports. You can mount like a rail gun. The rail gun can also be used if you point it backwards to accelerate the vehicle even further. So yeah, I'm looking forward for you to look at the auto wagons that the Bone Mances have. Not all of the vehicles that you can see here are that you can purchase,
Sure.
but some of them.
Only some vehicles are not amenable to being made out of sculpted bone.
Exactly. So everything that you see is made from bone, and some of them are just not possible.
I want the war engine with armor and treads. And I want that really big gun with the artillery tube, because if you look at the math, 3D20 is not nearly as nasty as 2D10 times 1D10.
Times 1D10 is crazy.
I mean, here's the thing. You get a perfect roll on the artillery tube, and that's 1,000 damage versus 60 for the Doom
It
Laser.
is. You can destroy the Black City if you want to. But anyways, we are getting ahead of ourselves.
I beg to differ. I believe this is exactly the issue at hand.
It is, but not this week. The first week, we had the 3 actions, and now neither, unless neither wants to look at the cool auto wagons at the moment.
No, I think the Redlanders are a bigger problem. But just for the notes, what do we need to jot down for Azure's Oracle meditation as the results of it?
So lurid pines is
Yes.
the biomancy crates and the foam fac producing, I don't know, mechanical prairie dogs is what I got. And
Bone fact producing mechanical prairie dogs.
If you go there and put Johnny to work.
I mean, maybe you can put Johnny inside this autofac, and they produce something else.
And did we learn anything about Ideal Island?
And about the Ideal Island, you learned that there are the ground seems to be made out of blue flesh, and there's this multicolored pyramid in the middle amongst gigantic flowers, like alien-looking flowers and trees. The trees do seem to have some kind of exotic fruit, but there was this floating eye on top of the pyramid, and it seemed to be aware of the oracle and told Azure to get off the island now.
And threw me out of my trance.
Yes, and threw you out of your trance.
Okay.
Yes. I like them both, though.
No, I love how we're playing a game in which we can say things like the floating eye told Azure to get off the island, and it makes sense.
It kind of makes sense. All right, so neither. I think
first, looking for Beauregard.
I say that we start your scene with you and Beauregard that you found, or maybe he found you, in his room.
Okay.
So how did you find him, or did he find you?
Well, the guard told me roughly where he'd be, so I went to that area.
Yeah.
And, well, it's not as though either of us, we know each other. So obviously, if he saw me first, he was likely to approach. And if I saw him first, I was going to walk up to him.
Yes.
So,
And you ended up like he's surprised and happy to see you, and he's like he was always a like a grizzled veteran that
Mhm.
didn't seem to have like a goal in life. Very dedicated to his order, like the some variation of the cockflower religion, but much more dedicated to protection.
Mhm.
And now he seemed to, like when you see him for the first time again, he's less, he's still grizzled, but he has gained some kind of confidence in himself. So it's less, he's less, what's the word? He's more idealistic than he was before, and you can see it in his eyes. And so
It sounds like he's happy.
he seems to finally found something that he stands behind. And in the room, there is the symbol of his order, and I can't remember what it was. I will get back to you when I find it. But the room itself is very Spartan. He has served you some kind of tea, and he sits on like a small divan or something with a small table between you, and he says, "We come into an ongoing discussion," and he says, "The Redlanders. I've spotted them, but alone, I don't know."
Have you received word from the Legion about them?
Yes, there is a substantial reward on them. It seems as if on their way from the low road and the high, they took out at least 2 caravans. This threat has to be addressed.
I see. How many people are for hire here? There have to be mercenaries around.
Do you want to trust the mercenaries? I mean, a couple of days ago, there were 2 Greenlanders that seemed to be kind of capable, but I fear that they will turn against us when they hear what money they can earn. I think it's us, the 2 of us. Are you with anyone? Is Ned still there?
Nat was called away for a moment. The other people in the caravan,
Are they fighters?
I think they'll fight because they understand the danger that the Redlanders present. But they are not dedicated fighters necessarily. My initial thought was to try to take out as many of the Redlanders as I could each day, quietly, silently, make them disappear.
I mean, a full-on assault.
How many are there? Is it still a dozen?
It's 13 with the leader.
What kind of guard does the leader have around him?
I mean, he is the leader because he's the strongest. I don't know. Maybe we should take out him.
What I'm thinking is that if we take him out, it will at the least demoralize the rest. It won't stop them. They won't change their ways necessarily. But if we take him out, it might make some of them question what they're doing. It might make some of them desert. Likewise, if we start taking out individual members quietly and make them disappear, the others might start questioning whether their leader is actually doing anything, cause some infighting between them. Maybe the rest would take each other out.
I say cut off the head. We can't afford a full-blown assault, not in a civilian place like this.
No, we can't. It needs to be quiet. What about the city guard?
Oh, she's capable.
Is it just you and her?
It's just me and her.
Are there any other caravans in the area that you know of that have capable guards that might jump in or be willing to help? This affects all of us.
It does. I don't.
So basically, we are at about half a dozen people against 13.
They're all armed to the teeth, and ruthless.
All right. Is the leader ever by himself?
I mean, I found out that they occupy 3 rooms, and he's in one of them. I haven't followed him around. He's called Don Straka. I haven't followed him around like 24 hours a day. I don't know his routine, but he seems to be surrounded by a couple of his people.
If we can get him along, killing him isn't going to be that much of an issue. But we need to get him along. Otherwise, we're down to watching his flunkies and seeing when we can separate one of them from the group. Peel them off one by one. Do you have any ideas? Does he have guards when he bathes, for example?
I don't know.
All right.
Maybe we can try to, I don't know. Maybe we could try to give some of them money to turn against him.
That's an interesting idea. Why don't you chat with some of them and see how that goes and see if any of them are willing to turn away. And in the meantime, I'll scout and see if I can find a time when he's likely by himself. Because if we can get him alone, well, I have a very good kitty.
All right, and with that, so the rest of the week, Beauregard will try to chat with them, try to see if they are
Bribable.
bribable.
Yeah.
And you will follow, try to get more intel on the leader, on Don.
Yeah, and if I see any of the Redlanders just sort of loitering about by themselves, I want to take them out.
Okay.
No reason to miss targets of opportunity.
So, so what's your priority? Taking one out, getting like an idea about their routine, following the leader personally. What would be your like priority? Is it more like getting intel on the leader, or more trying to find like a weak spot among the followers?
I think in this case, trying to get intel and then just taking out targets of opportunity as available.
Cool. All right. So I would say in that 1 week, at the end of the week, you follow them around. You try to get an idea about, who is in their rooms at any given time. What do they do in the free time? So is there free time? What else are you trying to get about them?
Where they eat, where they drink.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I mean, if I know where they're drinking, I can probably bribe a bartender to put something in their drinks to make them sluggish and worse at fighting. If I know where they're eating, I can bribe the cook to make them something that'll make them ill. Give them uncooked meat or raw meat or tainted meat. There's any one, knowing where they go and what they do gives me a lot of different angles of approach.
Cool. So they do stop once in a while at the shaman's place, because she also serves some kind of what is it called if the milk is like alcoholized, if that is a word.
Oh, fermented milk?
Fermented milk.
Yeah.
You can definitely chat with her. And by the way, you find out she's called Shiver Herbert of the Third Eye, and she does
Shiver Herbert.
Shiver.
Can you type it into chat?
Yeah, it's not. It's from the book. Herbert of the Third Eye, and she does offer a certain, for you, maybe interesting service. By the way. Which is she is able to pass on. She says, "I'm a dream walker. I can pass on information to others through dreams, but I can also possess them so that they write something down or sketch even." But you were saying about the Redlanders, I don't like them.
That's good. They're murderers, and they rob travelers and kill them.
They smell like violence.
They do.
And their dreams stink.
I have an interesting request for you.
I'm all ears.
Do you think you can scare some of them off with nightmares?
She cackles. Easy. What are they afraid of?
That's a good question. I think giving them a nightmare about losing their money and their wealth would probably help.
Hmm.
Nightmares about the treasure dissipating and them having nothing and being left impoverished, begging.
Would it scare them away, though? In my experience, a visceral dream of spiders and snakes has a greater impact.
Well, I'll defer to your judgment. You are the dream walker, after all.
I am. I also sell healing yogurt, if you're interested. Adhesive mold,
Go on.
lubricants.
Well, you mentioned healing yogurt.
I did. It's 50.
Hmm. You know, let me get a better idea of what we're actually looking at, and I'll be back. But you might want to mix up a pretty decently sized batch. I have a feeling we may need it.
And people who heal also can poison. Just saying.
Oh, and the next time they come by for any kind of fermented milk, please do. We'll absolutely make it worth your while, and they'll be keeping your city safe.
All right, let's make a luck roll, I think, of how many of them are scared away by nightmares.
Alrighty. Let's see. What am I looking at here?
I think.
What's my luck at?
Yeah, I was thinking about like a basic World of Dungeons, Blades in the Dark type D6.
Okay.
With 6 being a great success, I would say half of them are scared away. A 4 and a 5 is a mixed success with, I want to say a third, maybe four of them leaving, but they might find out that something is fishy, and everything else is a failure.
Right. Okay, so 1d6, correct?
Mm-hmm. High is good.
Spike's a 6.
Yes. All right. So, Brother Methuselah, like, I mean, you were the whole day you were spending the whole week. I'm sorry, you're spending a lot of time at the yogurt place, dining with Satrap 88, and so how do the viewers of our crazy traveling show see that the Redlander bandits, who are like a pretty weird bunch of scavengers with facial tattoos and so forth, that there are like half of them are shitless, scared shitless.
I'm sorry. What are you asking me to?
I'm sorry. So you know that there are these bandits in the Behemoth Shell, and they must have like something during the week at the night must have happened to turn them from like these fierce warriors with facial tattoos and gold teeth and grills and armed to the teeth into like scared little children.
Yeah.
And how does it manifest? Do they sit there chewing their nails? Are they just running? Are they?
I think that they were camped out, near the opening, and I think when we had arrived at the Behemoth Shell, they were very clearly staking out, a sort of a claim. They had guards out in front of their caravans, and they, were burning fires to gather around. And as when we see them now, I think there are no guards being holding watch, and the Redlanders that are still present there are all huddled around a single campfire, glancing over their shoulders at every sound they hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we see that one of the cars is missing. Like it's half of them. One of the cars is missing, and they're just gone. All right, so that was week 1. What are the plans for week? And I think actually, I think at the end of the week you can see that the other 7 are packing. They're packing the van, and they are planning obviously to leave at the beginning of the next week. So, what are the plans?
Is this the opportunity we want to try to make a move on the Redlanders, or do you still, Nida, do you still want to try to just take out the leader?
Are they leaving at the end of the week or the beginning of the week?
It seems as if it's like in the beginning of the week they're starting to pack.
Okay.
Like they'll be gone in the next day or 2.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Like one action could be setting an ambush, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is everybody okay with setting an ambush to take out the leader?
That could be cool.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right. I will start prepping that because we've got the town guard, we've got Beauregard. Are they still
Vigo?
getting fermented milk from the healer, from the shaman?
They stopped interacting with the merchants in any way. So they left their rooms. They're just camping outside, and they putting gasoline in the car. Attaching
right.
everything to the van.
I want to attune my sniper rifle then.
Cool.
So prep an ambush, attune my sniper rifle, and take a position on top of the shell. So I've got a nice clear line of sight.
Cool. Where do you position the rest of your crew? The rest is you have you can tell obviously Beauregard to be somewhere. You can tell Vigo and the yet unnamed city guard.
Well, Beauregard's got a rifle. Put him
Mhm.
at distance, elevation. You mentioned something about a mountain or a hill nearby.
Yeah, there are definitely hills nearby. The mountain that I was mentioning was the Lurid Pines. That is 2 days away. That would be too far. But there's
That's
definitely
way too far.
Yeah, there's definitely hills in the vicinity.
I want him on top. I want him top of a hill nearby, so
Mhm.
he's got some elevation and overwatch. And then, does everybody else have ranged weapons?
I have a crossbow.
Okay.
Does Methuselah? I don't actually.
I have a very janky one. I just have a sling.
Methuselah does not, although I suppose he does have the ability to summon ghosts.
Which would be hugely helpful.
would be really helpful.
Is there a weapons vendor at the Behemoth?
Yes, there is.
Great. What do they have?
If you look at the trade goods, the items list, you're looking for range weapons.
Indeed.
They do have bows, crossbows, the composite bow, the heavy crossbow, the bolter, the sling, darts, and a musket. So they don't have the porcelain pistol and the squirt gun.
They never have the porcelain pistol. I want that porcelain pistol. All right. Just for grins, which would you prefer, the heavy crossbow or the musket?
They both sound good to me. Musket is kind of cool.
Well, and what I like about it is that you are guaranteed at least 3 damage as opposed to the crossbow or the heavy crossbow. You're guaranteed.
Yep.
You could get 1 or 2.
3 to 8 is a nicer range than 1 to 10.
And where
it's
would
20 cheaper? So
Can I get a porcelain pistol? Would that be possible or no?
No, they don't have a porcelain pistol.
Oh, they don't have those. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll just stick with my crossbow.
And where would you be positioned? So Nida is on the shell. Beauregard is on a nearby hill, but like further away, with his cat rifle. Where is Azure?
we'd probably have to set up closer.
Yeah, I got a crossbow, so I'll get up closer. I'll take suggestions. You know, being a heavy combatant is not my strong suit, so I'm happy to, you know.
So they're camped outside. Are they camped near the entrance to the shell?
Not far away from the entrance. Let's say something like 20 yards.
Okay. Why don't 2 of you take up positions on the inside of the shell where you have the shell covering you? Because that way we can have the town guard still in the tower doing overwatch for you and also able to shoot out the door if necessary. And then 1 other person outside behind some rocks. So you're in cover.
Sounds good. I am the easiest to transition into physical fighting, like hand to hand. So
you should be outside then.
Yeah.
And would you position it in a way that when they drive off, that they drive towards you or past you?
I think like drive past, like a 3/4 angle kind of.
So that they would pass, for example, the wagon. You could position yourself under, in, or behind the wagon.
Yeah, something like that would be
and
reasonable,
then
probably.
Brother Methuselah.
Yeah, I think. Let's say that Brother Methuselah is also going to take advantage of the weapon shops here to get himself a musket also. And I think he will also be positioned inside of the Behemoth Shell or otherwise sort of hidden in the shadow of it. So that way he may, so that way he can shoot at the Redlanders, and hopefully he is far enough away that he will not be their immediate target.
And if you want to summon any ghosts to attack them, it could be just like the ghosts of those they wronged.
Yeah. Methuselah is certainly alone. He's not with any other people from the caravan.
Mm-hmm.
So he is a private. He is in a private enough place to summon ghosts. Should the need
Nice.
arise.
Cool. So should the need arise, obviously you choose summon the ghosts as your slot, I guess.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that it takes like at least some time. It's not that you can snap your finger and they sprout from the ground.
Yeah.
So it would be either you summon ghosts or you use the musket.
Well, I think summoning ghosts is more useful in
Mm-hmm.
this scenario.
Unquestionably.
So Brother Methuselah, finds a nook under the Behemoth Shell for him to hide in and summon some Jeremians. That is a 4 on a d4.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 of his ghostly brothers respond to his call.
Okay, so it is the early morning. You have set up the ambush, knowing that they will leave the next day. Everyone is in position. There's no way for you to really communicate. I mean, theoretically, I think with a mirror or something, Nida could contact Beauregard and maybe like whistling or something.
Of course, we can contact each other. I'm up with the pigeons.
That is true, with a certain delay. So are you initiating the attack? There's no initiative roll because it's an ambush. You will have the first action and an advantage in the first round before they can do anything, before we roll initiative.
So what I want to do right off the bat is use my sniper rifle special ability, my attunement ability,
Yes.
to snipe the leader.
Nice. And that is initiating the conflict. Have you beforehand contacted the rest? What will happen then, or is everybody more or less like acting on their own?
Basically, this is Old West rules. When the shooting starts, don't stop until one side is down.
Yeah, maybe we have when the leader's vehicle reaches a certain point, that's like our threshold.
Mm-hmm.
But we expect you to make the first shot.
Yeah. So there's like a trigger. So it's like if nothing has happened by this point, open up.
Yeah.
But something should happen before then.
Yeah, and they will pass at some point your wagon where Ver is. Okay, so we have the shot through your scope, obviously, and we can see the leader of the group, Don, jumping from the flatbed of the van. And he's making the round up boys gesture, and he's approaching the side of the car where the door is. What do you do?
Pull the trigger. I don't want to have anything in between him and the plasma bolt. I mean, I don't want it getting deflected or in any way depowered or less effective.
So this is your special. There's no roll involved. There's no real danger of him not dying. So we don't have to roll. You can just describe how you take out Don Strashka.
The bolt hits him dead center, and he disintegrates. He just kind of melts.
And you can't hear it from above the shell, but the others can hear the shouting and the screaming of the Redlanders, who are now in disarray, trying to jump into the car, scramble, on the flatbed. Their weapons ready, but not knowing where the where the danger comes from. Who's acting next?
I'll take a shot.
And I would say roll AV, roll under AV.
Roll under what?
Yeah, on your character
No,
sheet.
AV.
Yeah, attack
Is this with
value.
advantage now for
This
the
is
first?
this is yes,
So-
this is still with advantage.
Cool.
So you roll 2d20. You want to get 10 or lower with one of them. 10 is a critical success.
Got it.
So roll your damage.
What's the damage on that? It's 1d10, right?
You did. What did you buy?
Heavy crossbow is
crossbow.
D10.
All right.
D10.
All right, 5.
Ooh, close. But no cigar, which means that you like the bolt is released, and it definitely hits some vital point, but doesn't kill the bandit. And the next, who's acting next? Is it Fur or is it the ghosts?
Either way, I can get a shot in as they start pulling away.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how that goes. Let's get 2d20. 12. Sorry, a little. Oh, nice. That's exactly my AV.
That is
And
critical success.
D6 for damage. I rolled a 7 on damage.
Whoa. So describe how you take out one of the bandits.
I think there is one of them is like getting his rifle up and is about ready to take a shot just somewhere. Like he maybe is about to spot one of us. And I get the musket shot off, and you see it just go straight through his teeth, and you just get like shattering teeth fragments going out, and then the bullet just goes out the back of the head.
Love it. One down. 2 down, actually. And Brother Methuselah.
So I suppose the ghosts come closing in.
Mm-hmm. How does it look like? How is that like? Is that zombie-like? Are they more like ethereal?
Yeah, I think they are certain. They are not like physical beings. They
But I mean, is it like dead people?
no.
Are they transparent?
These are ghosts.
Mhm.
These are. I think probably they have like the memory of a body about them, but they themselves are not particularly like tangible. I think they are evil, spooky ghosts that are out of thin air and have sort of like a hazy form of a Jeremiah monk that is probably recognizable if you either know a lot about Jeremiah monks or sort of pay very hard attention to this
Mm-hmm.
misty sort of human-shaped thing that is coming at you.
Cool. And I will make 4. Let's make 4 saving throws for them. So they are level 2. The saving throw is 7. First one. Nope. Second one. Yes. Third one. Nope. And the fourth one. Nope. So actually, which is yeah. Well, how does that look like when the ghosts possess them, like take over their body?
Well, I think that the ghosts sort of materialize nearish to the Redlanders. The Redlanders notice them, definitely. And I think they probably are quite freaked out by the fact that some ghosts just showed up.
They are.
They've been having their own troubles. Maybe they're projecting the ghosts of their fallen comrades. They're like, oh my god. And I think suddenly some of the Redlanders begin to. I think that they just sort of stop reacting from it.
Yeah.
As their body gets it like freezes in place for a few seconds, and then the possessing ghost sort of takes control and starts reactivating the muscles and getting used to the form that they are now in control of.
Yeah, cool. I think it takes like at least one round for that to for them to being able to move them around.
Yeah.
So, in fact, there's one who's like really heavily injured, and that is one who could somehow shake off the ghost, and that's the one who sits behind the wheel and drives off. And they drive past the wagon, and I want to say one of you please roll a d6. I want to say it's Nida, because she's the leader of this ambush, and it would be unless your dexterity is no, it's not. So it's just a plain d6, and I roll a d6 as well, and we look who's higher. And that group will act first. So you roll for the whole group.
I inadvertently rolled 6d6s.
One is completely okay. I will roll mine.
Do you want me to just delete these, or?
Yeah, I would just delete these.
All right.
I got a 3 just for reference. And this is about will they get away or not?
All right. 1d6. I rolled a 2.
So they will act first, which means that there will be some ways, like you see the wheels turning. There's the smoke coming out of the van, and they pass the wagon before Ver can get a shot off. I think you can definitely take a shot, and Beauregard can take a shot because you have sniper rifles. But now you have to roll.
Yeah. All right. I am aiming at the driver.
And the other one is like he's leaning against, or she's leaning against the window and is bleeding out.
Yeah. Beauregard didn't actually get a shot off in that initial volley.
That is true. Let me just. Beauregard is. I think he's level 3 even. Just double check. Yeah, I think he's level 3, which would make his AV a 13. Roll. This is an 8. So let's say, for dramatic purposes, he shot the wounded one. So there's still the one behind the wheel.
All right. And I need to get an 11. Or my AV is 11, so I need to roll under 11, correct?
Equal or under. An 11 itself is a critical success.
All right. Is there, since I'm using my attuned rifle, does that give me any level of advantage?
it should if your vocation comes into play.
Well, I am a survivor. This is kind of what I do.
And I think you have, you have Legion of the Far Side, which is in the name next to dexterity. So yes, I think this is an advantage.
Okay. So roll 2d20.
Yes, you take the better result.
There's a 7.
So the car is almost, the auto van is almost outside of reach. And Nida, do the honors. What is happening?
Well, I just sight for where the driver's head should be. Inhale, squeeze the trigger, exhale.
And it is like an old-fashioned van with a windshield in the back. It goes through the windshield, and then you can see the splash of green plasma goo on the front windshield at the car.
And then it sprays out from the front of the car, making the road in front wet.
And the van drives into like a pine tree on the side of the road. And with that gruesome death, we'll finish the session. Thank you very much.